Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the BG Show. I'm here to talk about Episode 8, Season 1 finale of The Acolyte, Star Wars The Acolyte. If this is the first time on my channel, please subscribe. If you're into Star Wars, Marvel, DC, wrestling, UFC, this is the place for you. Spoiler warning, I'm going to be spoiling everything from this episode, so do not move forward if you haven't seen it yet. With that being said, let's get right into it. One last spoiler warning, because this is a big one before I start getting into it. And with that being said, let's get into the biggest moment of the episode, and honestly probably of the season. It's a Darth Plagueis cameo. Regardless of what you think of this show, I thought this was really cool. I have issues of where it showed up, where he showed up, why he showed up, and what it will mean for the future and the connection to the show. But getting Darth Plagueis is just really fucking cool. Obviously, if you're a Star Wars fan, you know that to be the master of Palpatine, who Palpatine famously killed, or we assume he killed, in the story that he tells Anakin in Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith, when they're watching, I guess it's the show, or the ballet, whatever the hell they were watching there. But getting into this episode, other than the cameo, the cameo, he's kind of just hanging out in this cave, and I was really, really hoping we'd get this. And honestly, a lot of Marvel shows didn't even do this, where the finale comes. I think all of these Disney shows, whether it be Marvel, Star Wars, need a big finale. They need something cool to happen in the finale. That was my biggest problem dating back to the first Marvel show, WandaVision. I could not stand that Doctor Strange did not show up there. I thought it was a huge buzzkill. So I was really, really hoping that we'd get like a major Sith cameo to try and tie into Chimere, which we kind of got. They didn't explain it, but nonetheless, we got it. My other positives, before I get into the negatives, is the lightsaber fighting. The lightsaber fighting in this episode was really cool. It mimicked Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. It wasn't executed as well, but I liked the attempt, and I really, really like Chimere's lightsaber. The dagger, I think, is really cool. I love him chucking it. We got a lot of, just really good fighting styles. I thought it was superior to anything in Obi-Wan Kenobi. I thought it was superior, especially to the fighting that we saw in Ahsoka. And I thought it was even superior to the fighting that we saw in the sequel movies. Now, let's get into the problems with this episode. The plot. The Ocean May stuff, I just do not care about. I do not care about even a little bit. I had no idea what was going on this entire episode, especially at the end when they were hugging and kissing as if they're heroes when they're both evil. I thought that was really bizarre. I think Chimere is 100% more interesting without them. I have no interest in them being trained, and I think if Season 2 is about them being trained, that would be absolutely brutal. So yeah, I don't really understand kind of the Osha May plot of this whole show. This show at first was kind of in the terrible tier for me, but now it's gotten into the frustrating tier. And it's frustrating because you have a Star Wars show with really, really good lightsaber fighting, with a really, really cool villain, and it's still not good. That should be impossible. If you have those two things, you've checked off the box, it should be a good show. The problem is it's not a good show. Why? Well, A, it just looks like a CW show. Not every single moment, but by and large, this looks like a CW show. It just doesn't have the look or feel of a good show. And just the plot. I think the villains are good. It's the Jedi stuff. A, the acting just across the board is not good. Vanestra is as wooden as a board. She's married to the director of the show. That's why she got the role. And I don't even really care about nepotism per se, but I just don't like her performance in the show. As I go into kind of the plot details of the finale, I thought Soul's storyline was just terrible. It just went absolutely nowhere. For him to just get choked out and die like that, I thought was incredibly weird. I don't know why all of a sudden he would suddenly not be able to kind of thwart that attack from Osha May. I thought that was very bizarre. So I really, really did not like that part. I thought Lee Jung-jae did a great job. He learned English for the show. He was a really good actor. He was the one guy who really came off like a Jedi. I never questioned him being a Jedi. It's not even about athleticism. It's just about, I've said this in every review of the show, gravitas. When Vanestra brought in all those Jedis as the backup to try and arrest either Soul or Chimere, whoever they were looking for, none of them, they all looked like they were straight out of a costume store. They just don't have the look. I don't even know how to describe it. It's not even sex. It could be a man or a woman. It doesn't matter what the color of their skin. It doesn't matter if they're an alien. There's just something that the Jedis had in the original movie that we're yeah, that's a Jedi. And every time I see a Jedi in this show, it's just like, oh, that's just an actor off the lot who they threw in a costume. I hated the Jedi costumes. I don't care if they're relevant. I mean, if they're accurate to the High Republic, it doesn't matter. Going back to the Plagueis part, and this is my problem with bringing in Plagueis. The name of this show should have just been Star Wars: The High Republic. By naming it The Acolyte, you're now going into like its own thing. If you're gonna bring Plagueis and like the main Star Wars storyline on the show, then it has to be a general Star Wars show, just Star Wars: The High Republic or Star Wars something. I don't know why they continue. They almost go too in detail, and this is what Marvel does too. Marvel should just have a show called like MCU Volume whatever, and it's just an update. It's what's going on in the MCU. They go too in detail trying to get a specific show. If this show is specifically The Acolyte, you can't have Darth Plagueis in this show as well, because then it turns into the main Star Wars timeline show, and it's not the main Star Wars timeline show. You can't start... If it's going to be the main Star Wars timeline show, then it has to be the main Star Wars show right now. You can't be picking up stuff like Plagueis in kind of like this sandbox out here. You know, the whole point of the show was it was 100 years ago. We'll do some memory wiping, so it won't really matter. It won't affect the main timeline. But now you've brought in Plagueis, it absolutely affects the main timeline. This show is now, like, even if we don't see him again, because Plagueis was there, because Yoda, oh yeah, and that's the thing, Yoda cameo at the end, which, I mean, there's nothing you can even really do right now, because Yoda has really always been kind of a dumbass, let's be honest. He didn't know Palpatine was sitting right in front of his face in the prequel movies. But this just constant, just shit on the Jedi, shit on the Jedi, shit on the Jedi. The Jedi are bad, the Jedi are flawed. I understand, I mean, believe me, as someone who grew up with religion, I understand the issues with religion and what they're trying to do and saying how, you know, they essentially have to give up their tax-free status. I thought that senator was a good character. I don't know why that senator didn't come in until the last episode. I thought that was really weird. And yeah, I mean, Vanestra pinning it all on Sol and kind of making him the bad guy. I just don't like this. I don't like this in Star Wars. I understand what they're going for, but it just didn't feel like a Star Wars show. And my issue or my concern with season 2 is like, if Ocean and May are going to be the main characters on the show, I just do not care about it. I don't. For them to save this show, they need to just focus on the Jedi and the Sith. That's what we want. We want this time period Jedi, this period Sith, mystery, intrigue, good lightsaber fights. We don't care about Ocean May. We don't want a Parent Trap. We don't want any of that. So yeah, that's my review of episode 8. I mean, when I grade this show, what would I give it? I think a 4. I don't think it's like a 0 or a 1. I don't even want to say 5. It's just that CW element I just can't get over. I hate how the show looks. I hate it, especially when I'm watching House of the Dragon, and it just looks so much worse than House of the Dragon with a $180 million budget. I did a video on money laundering. I still think there's money laundering going on here. I don't care how crazy I sound. I just do. But yeah, I mean, do I think it's worth watching? I always think Star Wars shows are worth watching. I think there's enough in this show where if you're a Star Wars fan and you can bang this out, I think you should watch it. But again, I think episode 3, that witch episode, was such a detriment to the show. If you just cut out the entire witch thing, I'm not even saying you should like worry about what the internet thinks, but they made those episodes knowing the internet would freak out, and they got the reaction that I think they were looking for, and it was just a negativity just snowballed from there. So that's my review of Acolyte episode 8. Thanks guys for watching. Just so many holes in the show. I might even have to do a second review when I think of more stuff, but I just wanted to get this up. Thanks guys for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.